What's going on, everyone? It's Alex here from Aleks Physio. So today we're going to be chatting about normative values of our upper extremity. But before we do that, I need you to hit the like button, comment, subscribe for future videos. It really helps my channel grow. It allows me to reach more individuals. I have 250 videos that discuss various topics ranging from exercise prescription, pain, different pathologies, and my take on different concepts that are discussed in the fitness and wellness industry. Normative values for the neck. We have neck flexion or looking down, we have 60 degrees. Neck extension, looking up, we have 75 degrees. Neck side bend or ear to shoulder, we have 45 degrees. Neck rotation or looking over your shoulder, we have 80 degrees. Let's go to the shoulder. Shoulder flexion or lifting our arms up straight overhead in front of us, we have 180 degrees. Shoulder extension, we have 60 degrees. Shoulder abduction or bringing your arm out to the side like we're reaching for something, 180 degrees. And shoulder adduction like we're grabbing something across our body, we have 50 degrees. External rotation where we're rotating our arms out, we have 90 degrees. And internal rotation, rotating our arms in, we have 70 degrees. Clearly I don't have 70 degrees. Elbow flexion, we have 150 degrees. Elbow extension, we have 0 degrees. Pronation or turning our palms down, we have 80 degrees. And supination, turning my palm up, we have 80 degrees as well. Let's go to the wrist. Wrist extension or cocking our wrist back, we have 70 degrees. And wrist flexion or bringing our wrist down, we have 80 degrees. Ulnar deviation or bringing this part of our hand towards this part of our forearm, we have 30 degrees. And radial deviation, the same thing on the opposite side, on the thumb side, we have 20 degrees. Let's look at the fingers. So MCP flexion or flexion of our knuckles here, we have 90 degrees. And extension, we have 0 degrees. Now we got PIP, so this joint right here, PIP flexion, we have 90 degrees. And extension, 0 degrees. And then same thing with the DIP, we have 80 degrees here and 0 degrees extension. So 80 degrees flexion, 0 degrees extension. Let's go to the thumb. So we have the thumb CMC, which is this joint right here. Flexion, we have 15 degrees. Extension, we have 20 degrees. Abduction, we have 70 degrees. Now let's look at the MCP, which is this joint right here. Flexion, we have 50 degrees. And then the IP joint, which is this one right here, we have flexion 80 degrees. So there are the normative values. This is according to the American Academy of Orthopaedic Surgeons. Now, when I comb through the research, there is a little bit of variability depending on which research article you look at with regards to the range of motion. Some of them can be even as high as 10 to 15 degrees, but those are kind of the general normative values for young, healthy adults between 20 to 50, 60 years old. The one thing to be mindful of though is that range of motion can decrease, and in some cases it can decrease by up to 30% as you get older. So, I mean, there are various conditions, injuries, surgeries that can decrease an individual's range of motion. It's super important that you use these normative values as a baseline or a target of range of motion to aim for, because obviously for some people these ranges of motion aren't possible, but range of motion for us as physiotherapists is super important because there are so many things that you need to be able to do, and you need to have the appropriate range of motion in order to do so. So for example, if I can't reach and grab something off the top counter that requires 180 degrees of range of motion of abduction, well, then I'm going to be limited, and I'm going to find other ways to compensate in other parts of my body, which can sometimes lead to injuries and issues and discomfort down the road. For us to measure range of motion, we use something called a goniometer. So this can be a good way to just kind of measure where your joints are. And I mean, obviously you can eyeball it to an extent, but this is a little bit more accurate. There is still a bit of error, about 5 degrees, but this is generally what we use in the clinic. It helps me, especially for individuals who have had surgery, especially if they've had total knee surgery, or total knee replacement surgery. It gives me and it gives them a baseline, their surgeon a baseline in terms of how they're doing and if they're coming along. Just to recap, we chatted about range of motion, normative values for our neck, shoulder, elbow, wrist, hand, thumb, and fingers. A couple key points that I mentioned is that range of motion is super important, and it's especially important if individuals have had surgery or if they have some sort of pain, to try to restore that range of motion to the normative value or as close to normative value as possible. The other thing that's important to know is there are discrepancies between normative values depending on what research study or article that you look at, so understand that. Range of motion decreases by up to 30% as we get older. It can decrease by up to 30%. And we use a goniometer to measure range of motion here in the clinic as physiotherapists. Let me know what you thought about this video. Hopefully you learned a thing or two about range of motion and normative values. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down below. But until then, see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.